Welcome to Boxing Scene. Ricardo Celis. In a couple of weeks, the fighting pride of the Philippines, Manny Pacquiao, is going to be back at 46 years old after 4 years of retirement. And here in the studio, I got, of course, the champs, Chris Algieri, Paulie Malignaggi. Chris, you fought against Manny Pacquiao when he was on his prime. Mm-hmm. Now at 46, coming back after 4 years in retirement, don't you think he can get hurt?
Yeah, I mean, listen, we could all get hurt anytime. But, you know, I say this a lot. Aging brains don't take punches as well. Brains aren't supposed to take punches at all, but aging brains definitely take them not as well or take them worse. So the durability is going to go down. But listen, it's Manny Pacquiao. He's the kind of guy, you never really see him like super out of shape, even when he did some of these exhibitions. He's a guy who lives a clean lifestyle. I've been around him when I was getting ready to fight him. I've been around him when I was calling his fights. He's just the kind of guy, he's kind of simple. Every fundamental, the way he trains, the way he eats, everything. He's a real throwback. And the kind of guy that keeps himself in shape, and he's so talented, he can always jump right back in. And because he's such a draw, he moves the needle. When Manny Pacquiao fights, it's like no one in the sport today. People are paying attention, other than maybe Canelo, perhaps. But yeah, Manny Pacquiao, he's a movement, man. He's global. So when he comes back, everyone's going to be paying attention. I know I have been these last couple of weeks. Watching all these old fights, looking at interviews, watching him train. It just makes you think, like, does he have one more in him? I don't know. He thinks so, and we're gonna watch him try at least.
Against Mario Barrios, he's going to be looking for the WBC World Tour World titles, right?
Yeah. Barrios is a world champion in a welterweight division that is about as weak as I've ever seen it. I think probably people older than me won't ever remember. This might be the weakest welterweight division in history, especially with the removal of Ennis, who's likely seen his last fight at welterweight. I do believe that there are guys coming up in the pipeline that are pretty good welterweights, but they're not at the championship, or they're not getting the championship shot quite yet. But if there's a moment in time where an older fighter can jump in and maybe steal a moment or steal a belt and win a championship and do something special, it's probably right now. It's Mario Barrios losing the welterweight title isn't exactly Michael Moore losing the heavyweight title to George Foreman, when Moore had just beaten Evander Holyfield. It was a shock when Foreman beat him, but nonetheless, it's still an accomplishment. I think Barrios sucks. So I think I think Pacquiao has a chance. I mean, even if you think you get a shot Pacquiao, because we don't know if it's going to be like a totally shot Pacquiao, like you look in the fight with the exhibition guy, or maybe in the exhibition, he wasn't taking it seriously. He's probably thinking it's an exhibition. So we don't know that. You're never going to get a clear answer on that. You're not going to know until he steps in the ring on Fight Night against Barrios. And then if he's sharp, then you're like, okay, he didn't take the exhibition seriously. Or if he's not sharp, you're like, well, this is probably like he looked in the exhibition.
I'd argue you could already tell. Because I'm.
What do you think?
Watching the exhibition, I don't think he trained for the exhibition at all. I think he just showed up. I think it was like, he just was like, I'm Manny Pacquiao. I'm a boxer. This guy's a kickboxer.
And that guy was motivated.
And that guy was motivated. That guy can fight too. I know him from kickboxing. He can really fight. Mm-hmm. So I think it was more of an underestimation, just walking into an exhibition like, I'm just going to go out there and be a boxer. This guy's not a boxer. Because already we're seeing all these videos coming out with Freddie Roach. He's doing the runs. He's doing the 6+ miles a day in the morning. You see him on the mitts with Freddie. You see him with Boo Boy. You see him hitting the bags. With Marvin Somodio, my friend out there, that you see them doing the work. I'm already seeing a sharper Manny Pacquiao. I'm already seeing a more fit Manny Pacquiao. Because listen, when he fought that exhibition, he looked fleshy. Yeah. Never seen him look like that. He's already in better shape than he was on that night. So that was a 4 or 5 round exhibition. I'm pretty sure he probably just showed up. This is a 12-round.
What happens if he wins the title? You know what I'm saying? Does he defend it, or is he going to win it and leave? What happens?
There's no shot he wins and leaves. No shot.
Right. So then the welterweight division.
No.
The welterweight division, it kind of breathes new life, even if it's an older Pacquiao. I dare say that in this generation, there's a bit more greed as far as the way fights are made. If you notice, it's instant gratification, not just for fan bases, but also for the people making the money. For example, I noticed there's less patience in bringing up prospects. People are more apt to test their prospects early, because the longer you go without testing your prospect, the more you have to keep investing in them, right? Yep. So it costs you more money. I notice, yes, the fan bases want to see, they fall in love with bigger names much easier. It's obviously easier to take a faded name who people will instantly pay for, instead of taking the time to build a new star. So you're not really building new stars anymore. You just can generate money right away.
Well, it's like Hollywood when they do remakes. They've already got an established IP.
Yeah,
and we're just gonna
costs more money and risk to create something new, right? And I notice, it's happening more and more. Shoot, I'm fighting a bare knuckle fight, but there's also Ricky Hatton just announced he's coming back. There's Mayweather still does exhibitions every here and there.
Keith Thurman came back and walked
Keith
right
Thurman,
into big fights.
Tyson Fury's coming back also.
Tyson Fury, but I notice, to a degree, it's always been like that. But you have the younger guys come in and flush out these older guys. You have the young guys come in and sort of breathe fire on them, and that's it, consume them and push them out, and they sort of become the new stars. It's not happening, bro. It's like you're not creating new stars. You just keep trying to recycle old ones. From one standpoint, it's cool because younger generations get to watch these guys live, even though it's a faded version of them. It's live. But at the other side of it, where do you go with your future? Because these guys can't fight when they're 60. You know what I mean? Where do you go with the future of the sport? Like you've got very good fighters in the pipeline, but you're not creating stars. We're talking about young phenoms that are coming up the ladder. Your Virgil Ortiz's, your Jaron Ennis's, your Andy Cruz's, your Shakur Stevenson's, who are champions now. Are you generating new stars, or is this so much gratification? Granted, your Andy Cruz's and your Shakur Stevenson's, people are already making money on them, but if you notice, prospects, nobody takes them to like 20-0 anymore, 25-0 before they fight for a title, like back in the day. Now
Except for Brian Norman Jr. They went old school with him.
Yeah,
that's true.
But were they signed to a promoter first right away, or did they do it themselves? Like a promoter,
I'm pretty sure they did themselves.
That's what I'm saying. You got to do it yourself. A promoter is not going to be that patient with you anymore. Where before, a promoter was patient enough to build you, secure your position, and then put you in a title fight where they knew you'd win. Like where they knew you were prepared, so you could have a likely chance of winning. Now, unless you do it yourself, like you're saying, like Devin Haney did it himself. They went the route of Tijuana, Brian Norman. But you gotta have money to do that, dude.
Yeah.
You gotta spend your own money on it. If you got people investing in you,
or you gotta be a ticket seller.
Local.
Like I was a local ticket seller. I got the 19-0 off local tickets.
But you also started late, so you were rushed a little bit more for that reason too. Even though you're a local ticket seller, I feel like you gotta rush a guy who turns pro a little bit late and also has some combat experience. But I don't know, man. You do have the Eastern Europeans where you don't need to take your time with them, of course. They turn pro with 7 million amateur fights. But there's still guys in the West who, if you take the proper time, you could develop them into a championship fighter. And instead, from a championship fighter to having star power. But instead, I notice a lot of this happening. And in Pacquiao, and again, I'm not complaining about it necessarily. I do worry about the future health of the sport and the future health of the business. I don't mind, guys like Pacquiao doing this, but I just wish that the younger version, the younger fighters, the younger phenoms would also be pushed as stars, and be treated as such. Pacquiao, for example, comes back, it's crossover news, right away.
What do you think?
Crossover media covers that.
When the WBC rank him at number 5.
Yeah, that's politics. That's. I mean, boxing just does whatever it wants to do. That I can complain about that, but if I complain about that, I have to complain about it when they do it all the other times too. And they just. It's against the rules. It really is. But boxing has no set rules. They have no set standards. They have no parameters. They have no backbone. This is a business that does that. It's slimy. But having said that, it's like I said, I do worry a little bit about the future of the sport because, Pacquiao right away, he's going to get all that media attention, and you think to yourself, why don't we have a young guy also starting to attract this kind of attention? Pacquiao makes a comeback, crossover media will cover it. Crossover media, the conventional media will usually not cover boxing, no matter how big of a fight we get, unless it's like a super huge, once or twice a year, maybe Canelo and whatnot. But how many young phenoms, like Brian Norman, you're talking about a young phenom who is making waves here in the States. He just had the knockout of the year overall all the way on the other side of the world in Japan. Guys like that, are they going to get that appeal from the crossover media? That's what you need. You need to have that from the youth.
Well, if Barrios
Ray Leonard was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Mike Tyson was on the cover of Sports Illustrated in their prime. You don't have that anymore.
Well, did you see Bob Arum talking? Now we're getting really off track. But you see Bob Arum talking about Keyshawn Davis. He could be the face of the sport, but then he does outside of the ring stuff that gets him in trouble. So it takes away from that. So there's a lot of reasons, but guys aren't willing to, promoters aren't willing to invest in guys because of that kind of stuff. But let's go back to Barrios and Pacquiao. Listen, if Barrios wins, Barrios only 30. So he's going to get an immediate... He's already gotten a bump. Fighting Pacquiao, you get a bump. He beats him. regardless if he's 46 or not, you still have a legend on your record.
Yeah, but let's
Get
remember
strong.
that Mario Barrios, he lost against Tank Davis, he lost against Keith Thurman, and against Tank Davis, he went to the canvas a couple of times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so
And you know that Manny Pacquiao, he hits a lot harder than Barrios.
yeah, I mean the puncher. Well, it's hard to say because a part of Pacquiao's power came from his speed. Okay, his ability.
Is
to,
his speed the same as what you're saying?
right?
Well, what you say? You were saying he was more snappy than in the exhibition. You seeing power? Are you seeing?
Yes, I've seen him. I mean, and listen, it's a gym. Everybody can look good on the heavy bag, but he does look leaner, trimmer, more explosive. The way that I'm not saying he looks like he did when he was in his 35, his 30s, but he needs to be snappy. And I said this, and I was talking about this yesterday. I'm like, you're gonna know right away whether Manny Pacquiao's in this fight or not. It's going to be right off the bat.
In the first couple of rounds.
Yes. If he's one of the most difficult things to deal with when I fought him was his first step. His first step was so fast. And fundamentally, he did things.
I'm going to tell you, if it's like that, the fight's over in 2 rounds. He's going to catch Barrios and knock him out.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because
exactly.
Barrios, if I throw this phone and close my eyes and he's somewhere in the room, it's going to hit him.
I was literally watching Tank Davis. Thanks for bringing that up, Ricky. Tank Davis and Mario Barrios this morning. And Tank Davis, yes, explosive guy, very, very quick guy, short guy, just like Pacquiao. His ability to throw a lead straight left hand down the middle and hit Barrios hard was evident throughout the entire fight, as long as it lasted. If Manny Pacquiao can do
Barrios
that,
is also very squared. He doesn't
Squared,
adjust. He
he's
doesn't play
heavy
it
over
off
the
his.
front foot.
Yeah, that's my always complaint too.
He's heavy over the front foot, and he doesn't vary his jab enough.
Yeah.
So he's there to be hit with those kind of shots, which is exactly why.
And I feel like against southpaws, it's more important to blade yourself off a little bit because the left hand comes down the pipe.
Well, he's a left.
Makes no adjustments.
He's a left hooker. He's jabbing a hooker, so he's gonna be square, which tailor made for a prime Pacquiao. But this is not a prime Pacquiao.
But again, you see these weaknesses. You don't think Pacquiao saw them too?
Of course they did. This is why they picked. That's why he came back.
You know?
He didn't come back to fight Terrence Crawford. He didn't come back to fight John Ennis. He's not coming back to fight Brian Norman. He's coming back to fight Mario Barrios. A lot of the characteristics that Barrios brings to the ring are the things that Manny was good at taking advantage of.
Okay. Once he's in and he wins the fight.
If he wins the fight.
Okay. If he wins the fight, is he in the contract with PBC or is it someone else?
That's
because
That's
then
the big question.
Then if he beats Barrios, you go back to your old buddies at Top Rank and make the Norman fight. What do you do?
I think if he beats Barrios, I think he's going to fight Tank Davis. I think Davis will go up and they'll do a catchweight.
For real? In welterweight?
If the PBC, I don't know, is it going to be one off PBC? Probably not.
Dude, that would be a great fight. See?
right.
Tank Davis versus Manny Pacquiao.
Barrios and Pacquiao. All right.
Wait, Paulie, come back. Oh my God!
You couldn't see that happening, but
In the truck, they made me stay. I was done with the show.
Okay, this fight's gonna be July 19 at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's gonna be broadcast by Amazon Prime pay-per-view. Manny Pacquiao versus Mario Barrios. Thank you to Crystal Jerry, to Paulie Malignaggi. I'm Ricardo Celis. Thank you for watching Boxing Scene Today.